All right, welcome to Sdeke Podcast, a podcast where we sit down with professionals and they come and share their journey, career journey, so that they can assist or help someone who wants to get into the same line of a career. And first of all, I want to say thank you so much to Workshop 17 for this collaboration, for giving us the opportunity to realize our dream, bring our podcast to life. And if you want to do the same, just reach out to them. We will leave all the information in the description below and take it from there. And today, I've got a special guest, Belinda. Please introduce yourself and what you do.
Hi, I'm Belinda Abraham, and I'm currently a spokesperson working in the For Impact sector and providing a voice and on whatever platform I can for the country's most vulnerable.
Awesome. We're going to get into that and go into detail on the work that you've done. First of all, when I looked at your resume, very impressive. You have a diverse field of places that you've studied. First of all, it will be nursing. It will be internal auditing, finances, and I don't know if I'm missing any other one. Is there another one that I'm missing, or those are the ones?
That's all of them.
Okay, awesome. I got them right. So in that sense, please share what inspired you which one did you start with, and what inspired you to start with that?
So when I left school, I started as a nurse. I was a student nurse, and from a very young age, felt that my purpose was to make a difference in some way in this world.
Sure.
And, a lot of people would think, for instance, or they would refer to a heart of service. A heart of service as some kind of sacrifice. If you say to people, I have a heart of service, then they think that automatically you're sacrificing yourself. And it isn't that noble, I have to say, Shepherd.
Okay.
Because for me, it is more about the fact that I have a very low tolerance for injustice or any wrongdoing. Perhaps the moral compass that I was given growing up has set in that direction, but their tolerance is so low that to walk past some kind of injustice or some kind of suffering and do nothing would be terrible for me.
Sure.
So yes, that's how it started. I really, from a very young age, probably as young as 7 or 8, that was what I felt like I wanted to do with
Your
my
passion,
life.
100%.
Was to start as a nurse. But as everybody, or a lot of people will experience, probably most people listening to this podcast will actually find out that where they started in life is not where they ended. And it's been quite an incredible journey.
100%. And get into the other careers that you have also studied, and that transition from nursing to the new ones. What is the inspiration there? What was happening in your life at that time?
So it's really about, and coming back again to the value that I wanted to add to the world. You can be a nurse and you can help people. But when you're a nurse that can read a balance sheet, you can do that much more. And the transition into finance was actually quite an easy one for me. And of course, finance is just so important because it really does give you the background of everything. Yeah. Not only your own personal finances and how to manage that, but when you're looking at business opportunities, understanding various types of funding models, it sets you up on a career path that is much broader than just one particular thing.
100%.
And that transition in itself was actually very, very interesting for me because while I was doing that and moved into something like internal audit, and you can say, well, internal audit and nursing, those are so different. But actually they're not. You're not helping a sick person in a bed, but at the same time you're protecting vulnerabilities within the organization that you're working. And that's exactly what that work entailed. So it's the same principle, different rooms, different roles, but still very much the same.
Awesome. So now we've got the background out of the way. Let's dive now, going back to nursing. Please share what does a day-to-day look like as a nurse? What were you doing? And also incorporate the helping the vulnerable as well.
So with my sincerest respect to every registered nurse in South Africa, I know the grind. And it is not easy. It has to be one of the most draining jobs that you can do. It's not only physically tiring because you're on your feet for 12-hour shifts, on and off 12 hours. You're working night shifts, but there's the emotional stuff that you deal with too that can be very hard on your heart. It's hard work. It's not glamorous. It's not like any of the TV shows make it out to be. It is dealing with people in their most vulnerable states, people that are very ill, sometimes dying, people that are recovering from surgeries. It's dealing with a lot of messy stuff that other people don't want to deal with. But at the same time, it's so important. The heart of it all is protecting the dignity of the person in front of you.
Yeah. What did you find the most challenging in your journey as a nurse?
It had to be the loss of life. And I was very young at that stage. I matriculated from school very early. And I was only just 17 when I entered the field of nursing. And I found the loss of life particularly hard to deal with. And also, there were everyday things, because you spend so much time, 12-hour shifts on your feet, you're dealing with people that are between white sheets, and suddenly you get out into the public space and people are walking around. It feels strange. It feels strange. So those things, there were those things that were difficult to deal with, losing patients that you'd built a bond with, feeling in some way that you potentially could have done more for them, because I think that is just the human spirit. We will always think, I could have done more. Maybe I should have been a little more patient or a little kinder, or we will probably always do that. Those are the hard things, I think, just questioning yourself and wondering, was there something I could have done for somebody more?
I had a young nurse as well. She shared the same sentiment regarding that's the hardest one, someone passing on. And it almost feels like the first time you experience that it's the hardest. Is it true that you also get used to it as time goes on? Not necessarily used to as in you're numb, but the nature of the job requires you to...
I think, and it's the same for the field that I'm currently in, that there is a requirement that you put a certain amount of professional distance between yourself and the things you're experiencing, and you can do that for the time while you're doing your job. So, you're able to do what you need to do to help somebody or to deal with a situation. But then there is that time when you get home at night that you have to process what you've experienced. And I don't think you can really ever divide the two. Because I think if you're in a role and you're in a role of service, and it becomes something that you handle very flippantly, or that it doesn't impact you in some way. I'm not talking about that professional distance. That's a good thing. But if it stops affecting you, or stops, hitting you in the heart, it's time to move on.
I see.
You can't serve in a role that is compassionate when you don't have compassion.
Yeah. They usually say that nursing is a calling. If you agree with that, anyone who wants to study nursing, what advice will you give them before they even should start choosing this career path?
I would say yes, definitely. It is something that you have to be called to do. If you weren't called to do it, or you don't feel that quickening in your spirit that I want to help, I want to do, that is what I'm passionate about, then question whether or not that is for you. If it's something that you're not called to do, there are things that are going to become too much for you. There are things that you're really going to struggle with. The fundamentals of the job will be hard for you. And something that's hard for you is never enjoyable. And something that's not enjoyable for you is not going to be good for anybody that you're supposed to be helping.
Sure.
So if you can't put the needs of the person in front of you first, then it's not necessarily the field for you. There are very many different careers in the medical sector that you could explore, where you potentially don't have to deal with a specific nursing role. Yeah, so look at options for you.
Okay.
If you don't feel that nursing is for you, because it will demand of you.
Yeah. Could you give, it's the same question, but just a little bit different. Please give advice for someone who wants to study nursing, so that you can just prepare them on, these are the things that you're going to be doing. You talked about the certain tasks that you are going to be required to do, but you won't be able to do. But there's also the joys of it, which is fulfillment, where you see a patient that you have been taking care of coming out on the other side. Please prepare that student.
I think I'm going to touch a little bit on what the life of a student nurse is like. And you're on and off. You go to college and then you're on wards. So you are getting your education at the same time as you're getting the theory and the practical at the same time.
Yeah.
You're also in one of the very few professions that's going to provide you with a small income.
Okay.
So you're working, and you're going to be able to earn a little bit of money. So that's nice.
Sure.
I guess the things that are difficult are, as a student nurse, you are going to be emptying bedpans. You're going to be changing dressings. You're going to be doing a lot of beds and backs, which means massaging people's backs and making sure that they're comfortable in their beds. You're going to be feeding a lot of people their dinner, their breakfast, their lunch.
Sure.
You're going to be shaving a lot of men.
Really?
Those that can't shave themselves, they have to be shaved. So, do a little bit of practice. If you've got a brother or a father, seat them down and make sure you lather them up. And yes, get some lessons, because the first man I ever shaved had a terrible shaving rash when I was done.
Shame. I can imagine.
I didn't grow up in a home with brothers.
100%.
So the first man I shaved, I was shaving this way and not that way.
Shame.
Wasn't going with the grain. Poor man was very grateful, but yes. You're going to be doing a lot of very menial tasks, but there's so much to learn every single day. And it's amazing how when somebody is in an incredibly vulnerable position, what giving somebody a bed bath can do for them, their dignity and their comfort, and the absolute appreciation for that small thing that you have done is incredibly rewarding. There was, on one of the wards that I was working on, there was a man who had lost a limb, so he'd had an amputation.
Yeah.
And it was quite traumatic for him, and spending just a few minutes a day with him, that man was apparently calling my name right throughout the night. So I was on a 7 to 7 shift. So I was on at 7 a.m. I left at 7 p.m. And the night nurse, when I arrived at 7 a.m. the next morning, said, "Who is this nurse?" And I said, "It's me." And she said, "That man's been calling for you the whole night. What did you do?" Nothing. I was just kind and patient. 100%. And that's all he needed. It's also incredible to see that that poor man ended up, the first amputation, gangrene set in, and it ended up below the knee, above the knee, and then all the way up to his hip. But he finally left the hospital. And that's, it's very rewarding to know that for the time that he was in my care, I made a difference to him.
100%.
Yes.
I think what you just shared now is just making me think of the skills you need to become a nurse, but I could pick up, you need to be kind-hearted. Is there any other skills that you can maybe start learning now before you actually start, so that they can be as excellent as you are?
Yes. Oh, thank you for that. I think it's just patience and understanding, but you also have to be quite firm.
Okay.
So you do have to know, people hear kindness and they understand it differently. Kindness does not mean that you are submissive or that you do things that you are not willing to do. So you have to have a certain amount of firmness to you. And any nurse that's potentially listening that's worked on a orthopedic ward that's generally full of young men will know.
Okay. Sure.
That kindness is so important, but understand what kindness means. It does not mean that you have to do every single thing that you're required to do. Kindness sometimes means being quite firm, because some patients, if they've been through something, a traumatic surgery, getting them up out of bed and getting them walking and getting them doing the things that they need to do to help themselves can be quite difficult.
Yeah.
So understand that, yes, you need to, I think, understand kindness properly.
Yeah.
And of course, also that that people are so different. You might have the same patient that had the same surgery or is battling the same disease, but it's going to be different.
Yeah.
And be prepared to learn every day. Yes.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think anyone who wants to study nursing has got, I guess, enough information to understand what is going to be required of them. And I just love the two-edged ways of kindness, because kindness can be being kind, being soft, but it's also being firm on what is required or not walking over me, which I love that a lot. And you said you protect the vulnerable, and that theme has followed you into non-organizations. Please share your career journey after nursing and just share with us what were you doing there, even with finances.
Yes. So after nursing and after internal auditing, there was that call or that opportunity.
Sorry to cut you there,
Yes.
Belinda. You said nursing is the career projection, then followed by internal auditing.
Yes.
I think maybe before we go anywhere else,
Right.
is it okay if we just...
You want to focus on internal auditing?
Yes, I just want us to have a proper career projection so
Sure.
that everyone can follow. This is where you started.
Yes. Okay.
And then now you went into internal auditing.
Yes.
Please share what were you doing there.
So this was about specifically process audit related work.
Okay.
And what was extremely interesting about that was looking at a process as a whole, looking for loopholes within that process where losses can arise for an organization or where things could not go as planned. And taking that process as a whole, understanding it in practice as well, that was so important. So my rise into internal audit happened at a very basic level. I did a lot of the basic jobs and then started realizing that I'm very equipped to look for the problems within those basic structures. And that actually enabled me to look at a process and understand as a whole where things could go wrong within this process. And of course, we've spoken about protecting the vulnerable, and this was about the vulnerability
of the company organization.
Towards the company I was employed by, and the vulnerabilities being within those systems and closing those gaps. And it was a very interesting one where I was exposed to a lot of travel, both locally within South Africa, and when we say, outside of our borders into Namibia, which was exciting. So there was a lot of travel, which was great. There was also a lot of hard work because I was studying and I was working at the same time. So that was a lot of hard work. You'd get home after a full day's work and you'd be studying and you'd have assignments to submit and all that type of stuff. And I was saying, well, by the time 8 o'clock comes and other people are getting ready to do something else, I'm applying my mind to my books, doing an assignment. I'm crawling into bed at 2 a.m. and getting up tomorrow and doing all that over again. So it was very hard work. But at the same time, it was also fulfilling because you know that the work you're doing, some people, I suppose, within the company itself would call us the speed cops.
Okay. Okay.
Because you were basically there to, be rapping other people over the knuckles on a continuous basis.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, we still had friends, so we couldn't have been too bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So also a very, very interesting job, and that's actually what got me interested in criminology and specifically understanding the psyche of a person who would be tempted to steal or commit an act of fraud, and was incredibly surprised to find out that any of us with the right set of circumstances are very likely to do something.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I took away from that was if somebody was caught out and they had been stealing, or they had rolled some money in the cash office, or all of the above, was to not be judgmental in those situations. It's very easy, and we may speak a lot about sort of moral issues here, but if somebody were to come to you and tell you that somebody that you love dearly needs open heart surgery, and in order for that surgery to happen, we're going to need R1 million, and it's a do or die situation, and you spot an opportunity, and you know that you potentially may not get caught, there's a 99% chance that you're going to take it.
I like that you just changed heads just like that from from internal auditing to criminology. It's so cool, and like you said, when sometimes we don't get to understanding the psyche of someone who is a criminal, and one of the old classic example was a mother who is stealing baby formula. We used to have those a lot back in the days. Just right now, we've got new technology where put protection around it. But that's one of the things that happens, trying to get into the mind of this person. I just want to feed my child. And I just want to take you back a bit so that you can assist someone who wants to pivot. Because I like your story, because there is pivoting. And you also add another pivot of criminology as well.
There was a lot of pivots.
Yes, yeah. and I like that because it will give, I think you said a very cool statement, a profound statement earlier on, is that you always start where you start is not necessarily where you're going to end.
Correct.
And for me, the pivot from nursing to internal auditing, what inspired it, also share... just share with us what inspired this.
It comes back down to that need to know, that hunger for knowledge, and that hunger for knowledge in a sector that was not medical.
Okay.
But could still benefit me in other ways. And sometimes in life, things happen by chance.
Okay.
By chance you find yourself falling into a different career.
Yeah.
And I've always been the type of person that has been willing to fall.
Yeah.
Because how else do we grow in life? How else do we discover who we really are? And where our hidden talents are lying if we don't take those opportunities.
100%.
So sometimes it may be as simple a fact as your undergraduate degree is in hospitality or tourism. And when you finally enter that workspace, you realize that it's not actually
what you'd envisioned,
It's not what you envisioned it to be. In which case, my advice to people would be, look for other opportunities. There are so many But you do need to open your eyes, and you do need to be willing to take a chance.
Yeah.
Sometimes take a gamble, be a little bit brave,
Okay.
and say, well, let me try this and see how that aligns with me, or whether that makes me happy, brings me joy, because that's important,
Yeah.
We should be doing things in life that bring us joy. We can't just be chasing the money, because we might have a lot of it, but we're going to be miserable.
Fulfillment is number one, I guess. Did you get to practice criminology after you studied it?
No, I was never a practicing criminologist, but that qualification as well, and I guess there's another message here, is you don't necessarily have to practice something just because you studied it. It could be for your own personal growth and understanding, and that was really eye-opening for me in a lot of levels.
Sure.
But also brought me to a place where I then needed to also work with the victims. So it's understanding what the human race is capable of.
I see.
And why they do certain things to each other. And then brought me to a place where the victims became my focus. So another pivot, Shepherd.
I did mention that this is going to be a special podcast. So it's already becoming more and more special. So you internal auditing, do criminology, and I guess this is where valuable it comes, because you're looking at the vulnerable, and I guess is the villain the right word? No, the perpetrators.
The perpetrator.
That's the right word, yes. The perpetrators, I guess, when it comes to certain levels of their conduct, they become part of people who need to take into prison or whatever the consequences are. So which way criminology comes in, and I like how you said that, also understanding the mind of a criminal as well through criminology. So you now pivot to SPCA. Please get us into that world. How is it like? What do you do on a daily? Share with us.
So that this has hopefully been my last pivot.
Okay.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm going to backtrack just one step back, if
No
I may,
problem.
Shepherd. And that's just to say that when I was in internal audit,
Okay.
there were certain skills required of somebody who is compiling reports for the audit committee
Okay.
that are presented to the board of directors, the executives, the trustees, etc.,
Sure.
of that organization. And so part of that training was also written reporting, understanding sort of from a communications perspective what is pertinent, what does the eye need to see in the first 3 seconds,
Yep.
what the in-depth information, how do we draw that out of a certain investigation or a certain audit report, and finally, how do we build it in terms of an introduction, the body of the email, the conclusion, the recommendations, as well as how do we present those
Yeah.
to people. So there was a little bit of training there, including exposure to some media training,
Okay.
which sparked another fire in me.
Okay.
Yes, because the media and people like yourselves have power,
Okay.
and you have power to be able to tell people's stories in a way that inspires others to help or support or to feel a certain emotion.
Yeah.
When I entered into the NGO sector, the transition was quite abrupt.
Okay.
I left internal audit. I saw an opportunity. Some call it a midlife crisis. But there was this opportunity to go and
Sure.
work for at youth risk. There was this opportunity to go and work for Youth at Risk, and that was my intro into
Yeah.
the For Impact or the
Yeah.
non-profit world.
Yeah.
And it was quite a culture shock initially, coming from this corporate world where, everything was in a certain way,
Yeah.
and then moving into this NGO space and really getting to know some of the children, some of the boys that were there, and the challenges that they faced on a daily basis. So they may be acting out from a behavioral perspective, but understanding what made it so helped me to grow as a person. From there, I also worked with, I worked at child welfare, where we dealt with things like abandoned babies, HIV-headed households, where you've got children running the home, various abuses against children, all upsetting, all explainable in a certain context. I've also worked for people's blood cancer charities. I know what it's like for a family sitting waiting for a stem cell donor match on the bone marrow registry.
Yeah.
I know and understand the pain of the person who is waiting that match every day. You know, is the phone going to ring today? Will it ever ring for me? The transition into animal welfare was really about where we have a world, we will always have victims. And when it comes to suffering, cruelty, or any manner of crime that one person can perpetuate against another living being, it doesn't discriminate across species. So whether you're speaking for youth at risk, whether you're speaking for abandoned babies, whether you're speaking for animals, they are all the result of an injustice. That injustice that I spoke about earlier, that I said, you know, when people say a heart of service is a heart that is sacrificed, and it isn't that, because that heart of service is what takes you to places, is what helps you to serve, is what protects you, and is also what says, I cannot tolerate an injustice and walk past it, because that is who I am, and to do so would be hell for me.
You're doing disservice to yourself.
I'm serving myself.
100%. 100%. And
correct.
It almost feels like a 360. You go around and you go back to almost the same profession like nursing, where you have to protect the vulnerable, protect, like you said, the babies that were given up, those who have cancer. And it almost feels like nursing was like an introduction.
Correct.
And then you go through the pivot of internal auditing, and now 360 again, you're back in this area. So please share with us now, as SPCSA, the type. I know this is going to be very, maybe I should put this disclaimer to the listeners that if it gets heavier, maybe take a break and come back whilst you've gathered yourself, because I want you to also share the type of cases that you meet, you discover, and we will talk about the psychology, needing someone who you can debrief from later. But please share some of the stories that you have encountered, and just to help bring awareness of the things that are happening out there.
Goodness, there is a lot, and there isn't a day that goes by that I see things that that would really shock and horrify other people. And I often think about this. There's so many. I have to say that one of the worst things I've ever seen in my time is a video made by a young boy. He was 15 years old, and he had recruited children from the neighborhood, so some of them as young as 5 years old. He was the oldest of the group, and after that, 9, 8, 7, 5, and it was this group of 5 children. And he made a video of these children torturing and killing a stray dog. the dog's crime apparently was that it had eaten another dog's food. And they first attempted to get one dog to attack this dog. So they wanted them to fight to the death. The video has the most horrific screaming, animal vocalizations amidst children's joyous shouting. So this didn't work. Excuse me. The dog was wounded, but he was not yet dead. In which case they then proceeded to stone the dog. And again, children shouting, having fun amidst the terrified screaming of an animal. And then when that didn't work, they then took the dog and hung him in a tree with a piece of wire around the neck. And then again, an animal thrashing, unable to vocalize, but very much alive, children laughing and joking. And the animal still did not die, at which point they then took it to a body of water and drowned it. And the reason why that has been the thing that has stayed with me forever is because this was children. And we've spoken a little bit about understanding motivations behind crimes, and nothing in anything that I learned prepared me for that. Was to think that children are capable of such cruelty, number one, or completely desensitized to it. So that's a heavy one for me. I do actually find that this particular field that I'm currently in brings together a lot of what I've learned in the past. It almost brings everything together in a neat little package. Because now we're talking about children who are perpetrators in as much as they are victims. These are children that are growing up in very violent homes, where there are potentially other issues that these children themselves are at risk of. You know, how is a 5-year-old child left to their own devices able to be drawn into a group where somebody older than them is teaching them so much cruelty? We understand all the interconnectivities between domestic violence, gender-based violence, child abuse, gang-related activities, as having very many of the origins within animal cruelty. In many ways, they would say, so there's something called the link, and a lot academics will speak about it a lot, which talks about that interconnectivity and how animal and human, or cruelty to animals and cruelty to people are one and the same thing. So in many ways, when somebody is cruel to an animal, that's the first little thread in a whole fabric that reveals a very big problem.
I do have an example on that. Is usually they will say how you treat a cleaner. It's how probably says a lot about how you treat yourself or what you have went through as a person.
Correct.
So maybe our expressions would be also through animals. But at the moment you feel like you're above anyone else, then if you cannot have humility, or we call it ubuntu, to love other people, not because of where they are in life, but just because you just love people. And I mean it almost, I don't know if we are qualified to talk about raising kids, making sure there's a safe space for kids and all that. It's not my profession. So that's why I'm saying that I don't know if we can talk about that. But thank you so much for bringing us to that awareness that even the victims in this case can also be perpetrators.
Correct.
And it's coming from, like you said, there's a link between how you were raised and what you've been desensitized to do. So with that said, this can be or is a lot. how do you debrief? Do you have a psychologist? Is there any platforms that are given to you workers?
Yes. So it's of course very important if you are a helper, if you do have that heart of service, to take care of yourself as a priority. Because if you don't, you're not going to be able to be any of those things for any people.
Yeah.
And for that reason, in my current role, I do have access to 24/7 telephonic counselling. I also have opportunities for debrief sessions after there has been a particularly bad cruelty investigation.
100%, yeah.
Because as the person that gets to speak out for that animal, I also have to know what happens, which means I have to subject myself to viewing that video footage to be able to tell that story.
Yeah.
And that is probably the hardest part about being a spokesperson for any organization that's working in the full impact sector, is that the story you are given to tell is very likely going to be either a person's most painful moment or the worst possible story about perpetrators that are children committing an offense against a vulnerable animal who cannot consent to me telling that story anyway.
Yeah.
So the hardest part of the job is probably being able to package that in a way that people will listen, because if it's too graphic, people will tune out.
Yeah.
If you haven't got sincerity behind you, if your heart isn't in your conversation, people will know immediately. And that brings me back to that self-care.
Yeah.
I'm also very fortunate to have a life partner who is so supportive and takes care of me in so many ways and understands the role that I fill in society and the burden that it is on me. And to have those small windows of time that a little bit of me time, a little bit of supportive time, a little bit of professional time when you need it.
Yeah.
And for the most part, just keep remembering that even if it's hard, it can still spark joy in your heart because it's making a difference. When it stops sparking joy, time to move on. No matter how hard it is, the job can still bring you joy.
True.
Because you're able to make a difference. You're able to tell a story that either touches people in a way that they either want to change or they want to help. And that's the skill of the job.
Yeah. I mean, you shared something very interesting. You said this is where you start to learn the media side of things. And now you're a spokesperson. It's both serving but also representing, almost like a lawyer, right?
I like that.
I think I've just given you a pivot there.
What are we on? Pivot number
wink,
500?
Wink, wink. And with that, I mean, you did touch on it. Is the way you need to tell a story. Please share with us, how did you develop that skill, talking, and so that you can help someone who is in the same field, where maybe they're in a different department, but they find passion in also speaking for the vulnerable.
Know your subject matter. Be extremely well read. The role of a spokesperson in an organization requires you to know everything.
Okay.
And that's impossible. It's impossible for anybody, to be well versed on any number of topics throughout an extremely wide range of topics.
Right.
So be well read on the fundamentals. Prepare for the others. Know your sources. Use trusted sources only. And make sure that those sources that you're trusting are not polarizing in any way. Because as soon as you align with one, people think you align with all those ideologies.
Yeah.
So be careful with your choices.
So diversify.
And then secondly, speak with conviction. Nobody is going to believe your story. Nobody is going to believe your story about your brand if you don't believe in it yourself.
Yeah.
You have to believe that what the message that you're delivering on behalf of, whether it is an organization, whether it is a vulnerable person, you have to believe it with your whole heart.
That's
because
right.
that conviction will be in your voice, it will be in your body language, it will be in your actions. If you can't bring yourself to that point, it might not be the topic you should be speaking on.
I think the perfect word for that is empathetic.
Yes.
The ability to carry someone else's pain and speak it through. And that speaks of conviction as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Shepherd, and apply your mind. Don't rehearse things parrot style. You need to apply your mind. So there's a little bit of between the lines understanding of your subject matter.
Yeah.
But always bring it back to the heart. Always bring it back to a story that will stay with people and that will make a difference. You may not be able to help that one victim.
Yeah.
That one victim has already suffered or died horribly or has some kind of life-altering change in their life as a result of something that was done to them.
Yeah.
You can potentially prevent that from happening again. So know and understand the power of your words. And I always say, and maybe for a podcast, not the best example, but the pen is mightier than the sword. Because there is power to words, and you need to wield that power wisely.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to the end of our podcast. Thank you so much, Belinda, for sharing your journey, and it has been a very good one. I enjoyed it, and I believe that it will be valuable to our listeners as well. And you are I don't know if I can call it 3-in-1, 4-in-1, 5-in-1, but you are all that we value here at Sdeke Podcast, and I'm
Thank
sure
you
a
so
lot of
much.
people have learned from you as well. And thank you.
Thank you for having me, Shepherd. And I really hope that some way somebody's heart is touched to get into where they can make a difference for
100%.
others.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And with that said, thank you so much to Workshop 17 for collaborating with us, for allowing us to bring our podcast to life. And if you want the same for your podcast, reach out to them. We'll leave information in the description below. Bring your podcast to life as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.